And right now, I'd love to welcome my buddy Deniz all the way from Germany to the program, Muscle Sport TV. Well, basically, it's a Muscle Sport TV / World of Bodybuilding corroboration we got going on with our program, right, Deniz?
Exactly, guys. So I think you probably saw our first episode we did a couple weeks ago, I think. If you
Mm-hmm.
didn't, you can check it out. Um, this time you will, cut it a little shorter for people to get it more, catch it more, and we will try to introduce some current topics. So I hope that you will enjoy it and we will have some interaction and some great feedback on both our channels, right?
Yep.
Okay, so guys, today we have some current and interesting topics. I think first one is the FIBO 2018 and expos in general. I think Joe, you've been to many expos. I think in your career. And second, will Lee Priest make a comeback? And if he would do it, would he be that successful? As of getting the 212 Mr. Olympia, like a lot of people are speculating. So
Mm. Okay, cool.
yeah,
Juicy topics, of course.
juicy
We're
topics.
gonna
Yeah,
jump right into it. So,
exactly.
it's well, you're a perfect example to give us an opinion on the FIBO. So obviously, you were just there a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
We're recording this on Monday. You were there over the weekend that just passed. I've never been to FIBO. I've been to a lot of expos stateside, mostly the Arnold and the Olympia. I personally enjoy the expo more than I enjoy any of the competition parts of these weekends. I think the expos are great for people to get to meet a lot of these athletes that they follow online or in the magazines. And it's really expanded over the years as far as it's you get like a lot of people there. Like a lot of times UFC has a booth at these expos. WWE Wrestling had a whole big thing 2 years ago at the Arnold with a ring set up, and they were doing all these NXT, which is their like kind of their minor league, their feeder system.
Yeah.
They had all bouts all weekend long with bleachers set up, so people got to sit and watch pro wrestling going on at the Arnold Expo. Strike Force, when they were before UFC bought them, I've been at their booth before at the I believe it was the Arnold Expo. So it's not just bodybuilding; it's kind of a whole different, all different athletics involved. The one complaint I do have is that they don't give away as much free shit as they used to. I don't know. My next segue is to how is FIBO on those lines? Because the Arnold was really not good at all doing that this past year.
Yeah, so guys, the FIBO 2018, the past weekend actually. So today I got home, at night at 2:30 a.m. I got home and I went to sleep. And it was the first time for me to be at the FIBO 2018 and meet all those guys I'm all reporting all the time. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I was there Saturday and it was completely packed. And to be honest, like you said too, my friend already said that too. The samples are not like they used to because a lot of booths are not giving away that many samples. And if
Mm-hmm.
they do, what I saw was if they do, they're like having some athletes and some music and they're throwing away those samples. And
Yeah.
people, for a little 20, 30 gram whey sample, they will really fight into each other. I saw it. I was shocked, the
Scrum.
yeah, they will throw the plastic shakers and people will really fight for it like if it was, a car or something like that or a house. Um,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
I was like, man, I paid so much money for the trip. If I get one or two whey samples, it's not worth it. But I still got some, but it was not like it used to be, like you
Mm.
said also.
Yeah.
And it was great to meet all those guys. Um, but I think, the expo is probably, like you said, even more interesting than the contest itself because there you have some interaction. And if you don't like this guy, you go to that guy. If you don't
Yep.
like that booth, you got to go to that booth, and you're just more having more opportunities and options. But it was sad, like Rich Piana was that it was a huge booth when he was alive. I know that my friend was there. It was one
Yeah.
of the most biggest booths at the FIBO, and this year because he's not alive anymore, sadly, rest in peace. it was very, very minor, you know, but
Mm.
that was clear. And I saw Lee Priest too. He was at Black Skull, and
Yeah.
at first I didn't see him because at his booth they're having a show with girls and music and everything. It was very, very loud. And then I asked the people at the booth, "Where's Lee Priest?" And then they said he's at the back, and I was checking him out and was talking to him a little bit. I even said, you know, I'm a friend of Joe Pietaro and Greg Valentino, but it
Oh,
was
cool.
so,
Good.
yeah. And that he said too, you know, great guys and everything, and but it was so loud. Sometimes the music at the booths were so loud
Yeah.
that some guys even had those things you put in your ear. I don't know how you call it.
Yeah, like earplugs. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because it was too loud to even hear each other.
yeah,
But so Lee was cool with you then. You were hanging out, bullshit with him for a little while.
yeah. I was talking a few sentences actually. Hope
Sure,
he
yeah.
remembers. Ronnie Coleman can't walk anymore. He was in front of me. He was sitting,
Wow.
and when he was, you know, trying to do a photo with a guy, he had to go with those crunches. How you call that when you're sick?
Cr-
Those.
Crutches.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's
But
sad.
that was
That's
sad because it was the first time I saw Ronnie, and to see him that way, and you know, when I
yeah,
first saw him in the videos, it was like preparing for the 2001 or 2003 Mr. Olympia when he was his biggest, and then you see him in real
humongous.
life after all these years. It's sad to see that. But guys like Jay Cutler, for example, look very, very fresh and healthy. I have to say that.
Yes.
Jay Cutler
Yeah.
seems he was very, you know, stylish too, and he seemed to be very up to date with everything. I like
Mm-hmm.
that too. And Dorian Yates too, he's smaller now. You
Yeah.
know, he's
Yeah.
not a bodybuilder anymore, but he looks very healthy and I don't know, happy with life, let's put it that way, you know, confident. And he had a lot of guys too. I got the chance to hold up the Sando, the original Sando, which he
Oh
won.
wow.
Yeah,
Very cool.
and that was great too. But what was your most awkward or most funny experience at this expos, Joe?
Um.
You have any?
Yeah, I actually do, but I don't know. I probably leave that one. Uh, I mean, people that were with me saw it, but I guess it's water under the bridge now. I guess I'll tell you off air, but I don't want to get into that one. But I guess just I mean, kind of awkward sometimes is where you're trying to get an interview and you finally get an interview and then you get there and then you just like you don't have the right questions that you really should be asking this guy. You're kind of just forcing a few out just because you waited so long to get to this guy, and by that time you drew a blank. I mean, when you're doing interviews all day, that happens, you know. And it just sometimes it's just you're not up on maybe some of the later things of this guy, and you really didn't ask him the right question.
Yeah,
But that happens. It's part of the job. I'm sure, you know, if you haven't seen it as a journalist, you will down the road continue with this path that you're on now, and you're gonna go up to a guy that you're like, oh shit, I don't know what the fuck to ask this guy or lady, you know, depending on whoever it is, and
yeah,
probably something like that where I just kind of had to fake an interview and just ask like a general, you know, boring question
yeah.
just to get it to look like I know what I was doing. You know?
Yeah, to be honest, Joe, when I interviewed Greg Valentino 2 times, of course I wrote down a set of questions, but then the interview went so smooth and we had a great flow that actually I didn't had any questions left, but we still talked. So I was trying to talk like it was all planned, but in my head I didn't had any question left, so I had to
It's
just mix something into
ad
it,
lib. Yeah.
and it was sometimes, and you still have to be confident doing this because otherwise you would be screwed too, you know. You would be like,
Yeah.
ah, Greg,
I saw
I
your
don't know.
videos with Greg. You
Yeah,
did fine, man. You did.
yeah,
They were good. They were good, interesting, funny interviews. You know.
yeah. Because sometimes I'm afraid that I'll ask a questions and the answer is only one sentence, you know, and then the interview is
Oh,
done after 5 minutes. But I never had it that way. That was good.
yeah,
But this time at the
yeah.
FIBO, I didn't do any interviews. I was just wanted to check it out and see all those
Good.
guys, talk with them a little bit. I saw Kevin Levrone too. He looked great, and
Yeah,
it was a good experience. But I think it was too packed. It was like you couldn't move straight forward because there was so much people, man.
yeah. That's how it gets. The Arnold on the Saturday is like that. Friday is not that bad. Sunday, I usually I'm
Yeah.
gone by Sunday morning. I don't even go to the expo. But most of the expos, the Saturday is the big day. So how was Sunday at Fibo then?
I wasn't there Sunday too. I was
Oh,
at
you want just the
yeah.
first day?
No, it was like Saturday, Friday, and I went to Cologne
Oh,
on
okay.
Friday, and the biggest day, so to say, where everybody was there of the athletes and everything was Saturday, and I was there
Yeah.
Saturday for like 8 hours, so the whole day from beginning to end. And the only thing, like you said, I went to Dexter Jackson and I wanted to ask him how his bicep injury is going,
Yeah.
because he wasn't wearing his shirt, he was wearing a long sleeve too. But the
Mm.
moment, you wait in line all the time, and then the moment you take the picture with him, I forgot the question, you know.
Yeah.
Like you said, I forget what to ask him, and then
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just took an autograph of him and,
Yeah.
went away. But it is like you say, you can plan a lot of things, but sometimes you will just be nervous enough to forget some things, or I don't know, you know.
Yeah. But
But
you had a good time though, right? There was a lot of hot women. It was a lot of good butts to look at, and you got to meet a lot of the bodybuilders and see a lot of these different people. So that's cool. I'm glad that you got a
yeah,
chance to go there. I'd love to get to a expo one day in Europe, either FIBO or Body Power.
yeah,
I don't know in the immediate future, but it's not in the plans now. But maybe down the road someday. You never know.
yeah. The only thing was, Phil Heath wasn't there because Phil Heath doesn't have a supplement sponsor. You
Nope,
know,
he doesn't.
I was at Ultimate Nutrition. I already knew it, but it was still surprising that the biggest name, isn't there, and all the others are there. I don't know.
He's boring as hell. He doesn't
Yeah,
do anything.
really.
He's not. He's. I mean, he's not terrible. He's not a quiet guy. Like he'll hey with the fans and he'll take pictures and stuff. But he's not. He's not an exciting guy. He's definitely not. He's and then neither is Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler's. I love Jay Cutler. He's great to me. He always gives me nice interviews. But he's not a very charismatic, boisterous type of personality. That's just his personality. And Heath is a little more than that, but he's not. He's not like a great draw on the line. I mean, there's not many people I would wait in line hours for. Like CT Fletcher is very jovial and stuff like that. Piana, his whole crew is good like that. But to wait a long time in line and the guy just like takes a picture with you and you walk away, I don't know. I can't do that.
Yeah. And one thing too, I get some messages under my videos, and some people, especially the young guys, they see those bodybuilders as gods,
Hmm.
because they don't have any connection to them in everyday life. But at the end, they're still normal human beings. So
Yes.
it's not,
Yeah.
they go to toilet. I don't know. They do every day's life, so they're normal guys too. But
And they're a lot shorter in person, right?
yeah, they're a lot shorter. But I already knew that because I saw some of them, in prior to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just I don't know. They are freaks, but they are still normal guys at the same time. But I don't know, Joe. Be honest. If you had the genetics and the structure, would you go for a professional body, for a pro bodybuilder, for the look, to be a pro bodybuilder?
I mean, I guess if you had a chance to look that big, as long as you don't kill yourself doing it, I mean, I guess anybody would be a liar if they said they wouldn't want to look. I mean, who wouldn't want to walk down the
Yeah,
street
but
looking that big one day? Of course, we're guys, you want to look jacked. I mean,
yeah, but
but I wouldn't want to kill myself taking GH and insulin and all that, on
yeah,
top of everything else, just to look like that for a year or two and then fizzle out. So
yeah, but my point is, I saw Michael Lockett, for example, when he went to the toilet. Okay, I already wrote that under your live streams, and his legs, he was very big. He was in the
mm,
tank top. He looked amazing. I didn't expect it. Him to look
yeah,
like that. And his legs. When you're walking, normal people have like legs that are not sticking together, but those guys are having so big, damn big legs that they are like
yeah,
this. And he couldn't walk straight forward. He was always like, you know what I mean. He was like this,
yeah.
and that was, I don't know. I think in everyday life, it's not easy to be that big because you can't do
No.
anything else but training, sleeping, and eating.
Yeah.
You can't go, if you walk 20 meters, you're like out of breath, your lower back is fully pumped, and you sweat like hell. I went to Dennis Wolf, and every every hour, I don't know, every 30 minutes he changed his shirt because he was sweating. But
Wow.
and
Really?
yeah, and you know what I mean? It's like a Lamborghini. It looks amazing. Everybody would want to drive that, but in everyday's life, it's nothing
It's not
comfortable.
feasible. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing comfortable, or how you say it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of gas. It is not easy to sit in there because it's hard and everything. And if you're tall guy, it's not great too. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know, because during the FIBO, during those 4 days, they are the greatest stars, the greatest heroes. But the other
Hmm.
360 days, I think that they're not having that great of a life. Not that jet set life and everything.
Yeah. I guess there is a lot of minuses that go with the certain pluses that comes with that. So I mean, I guess just it would be interesting to see how walk in their shoes for a day, for 24-hour period, but maybe not forever. Because
Yeah,
if they have to stop working out, a lot of times those guys either get really skinny or they get really fat. It's really no in between, and that would
yeah,
suck after being in such, muscular, physique for all those years, and then you're too old to do that, and you can't pull it off anymore. You don't want to look like a nobody, and you don't want to look like a chubby guy either. So
yeah.
I don't know. I guess I've lived 50 years with this body. I'll stay with it.
Yeah, like you said, I think there are only a couple of guys like Dorian Yates who can be comfortable, to be small again. And all these
Yeah,
other guys are maybe stuck in their head and they try to be as big as possible, as long as possible, like Ronnie.
yeah.
And King Kamali is still huge. Kevin Leroney, obviously. Marcus
With the
Rule is
comeback.
Marcus
Yeah.
Rules is still
It's
huge. And
huge. Yeah. But you said Jay Cutler. Now Jay Cutler is
yeah,
health, like you said. I said the same thing every time I see him. You look healthy, and that's very unique for a guy that stopped bodybuilding as a Mr. Olympia practically. I mean,
and
his
he's
last
big
contest
too.
obviously he didn't.
He's not
But
small.
he still looks good though. He's
Yeah,
still big. He still trains. I'm sure he's on testosterone at least, but
yeah.
he's not killing himself with all sorts of chemicals and crazy amounts of weight like Ronnie was using.
Yeah, I think he's one of the few guys that does the in between, not small, not
Yeah.
huge, but big and healthy. And
Yeah.
and he's always very, very lean and he has full hair and I don't know, he is like a great representative.
Yes.
He's a guy that you say, okay, it seems to be healthy and it seems to be great, living that lifestyle. And when you're in your 40s and late 40s, you're still good. But
Yeah.
it's not always that way, of course.
No, no,
Okay.
it's definitely could go in down in a bad way really quickly for some of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, like I said, I saw Lee Priest too, and
Hmm.
we already discussed it prior to that video. I saw a video with Flex Lewis, and I don't know if they were joking, but it seemed to be kind of serious. They kind of, said that Lee Priest is coming after Flex Lewis and doing the 202, not 202, 212
12.
pound
Yeah.
class and compete there. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a hoax? Do you think that's a joke, or do you think that
Hmm.
that's real or could be real?
I mean, I would have to say I don't think it's ever going to happen for a few reasons. First of all, Lee's issues with the IFBB, and I commend him totally, and that's one of the reasons why I love him being a columnist for a magazine is he has the balls to say what's on his mind, and if he thinks they did something wrong, he doesn't shy away from saying it, and they don't like that, obviously. So he's not technically a valid IFBB pro right now. Listen, he earned that status for life, as far as I'm concerned, but he does not have a renewed pro card per se. So he would have to put back in to get a renewed pro card. Would they forgive and forget him? Probably not, but let's just say they did. Let's just say he had a chance to come back and go against a Flex Lewis in the 212 category. We were discussing right before we recorded. He's going to be 45 very shortly. He's 44 as we record this. He's undergone neck surgery which he needs a second one because that was a few of the columns he wrote to me about in the magazine about the neck surgery. So he needs a second surgery. He can't train the way he used to because of that neck surgery. He was supposed to go to Brazil to get it because I think they have some kind of procedure that they're not doing in Australia, which he was available and able to get in Brazil and had it kind of set up. But then he had that tooth infection where he almost died from it. He had that abscess and all of that. And he was in ICU for 9 days. So obviously everything got put off until he was healthy, and he's 100% back from that now for quite a while. But he still said, the last time I spoke to him, is that he still needs that second neck surgery. He still gets numbness. He can't feel like I think it's his right side. He can't really train very strong on his right arm. So obviously to get into shape to be on the stage, he would have to be healthy enough to start a prep to see if he's even able to do so. So I don't think that he would be able to do so, and it's because not that his body worked against him, it's that, he's 45. He's taken a long time off. He was off, I don't know how many years, and then in 2015 he won the NABA Mr. Universe in Australia. And he looked probably his most ripped he's ever looked in that show. He didn't have the same size, but he was shredded to the bone, and he really, he looked good. And Lee has a great structure. Even now, if you see him, he still looks jacked. He's humongous now. I mean, you saw him in person. I mean, exactly. I saw him, a month or so ago at the Arnold, and he looks fantastic for a guy that says he can't work out to his full potential because of the injuries and everything. So I don't think he's going to come back for those reasons. But you never know. Would he ever come back in IFBB Elite Pro? Like as a one-shot thing. I mean, I think Lee Priest is more of a guest poser now at this point because he won't have to really prep for it. He has to just make sure he looks good and in shape and all of that, and he wouldn't tax his body as much. But picture if Raphael, and when knows Wayne D'Amelia for years, had champions and was in the PDI and won the shows there, the few that they had before that they had to shut down when Wayne got ill. So there is a history and a relationship there. So I think it would be quite interesting if those guys made an offer to Lee to come back and to compete with the Elite Pro. What do you think about that?
I think that definitely could be an opportunity because back then when you did the IFBB type of thing, who wanted to do a new league, like you said? Wayne D'Amelia, right?
Yeah,
when
he
competed
had
one
it
or two
the
times.
Yeah,
then he did that, and then I don't know his career. But
well, I think he was kind of wrapping it up anyway. I think he even said he didn't feel like competing anymore. He came back in that NABA show. That was the last thing he ever thought he was going to do. He said he figured his competition days were over, and so he didn't renew his card. That's basically why they didn't. Why he was suspended for life. He didn't renew his card, and then he was talking on VPX radio with John Romano, and he was bashing at the federation a little. So they said, you know what, you're done with us, kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, I saw him last weekend. Like you said, he looks great. I really expected him to look a little worse because of all of his injuries and everything. He had just a few the last months and everything, but he looked pretty good, pretty healthy. He didn't have a tank top. Like he had a little long thing. I just saw his size and his forearms, but I just can't guess a little bit. But I think the IFBB would be open because. When you look to the past, they accepted Kevin Levrone to do a comeback, and it boosted the Mr. Olympia incredibly. Because Kevin has a huge fan following, and a lot of people bought tickets for that and went to the show and followed the contest only because of that.
Yes.
And then the next year, Flex Wheeler came, and he said he will do classic physique. Again, the same thing. Huge, masses followed that, and I think if Lee Priest would do it, the IFBB would be open for it, and a lot of people would follow it. However, I don't think, not because I think that he's not working hard, just because of age and everything his body went under. I don't think that he will be or he could be the 212 Mr. Olympia. Do you think he could beat a Flex Lewis in his prime? I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say no, but if there was a comparison of the type of physique Flex Lewis has, Lee Priest is very similar. where the size is amazing, but so is the waist to lat ratio. I mean, the X factor is, I mean, that when I look at Flex Lewis, I think of Lee Priest because of the type of physique that they both possess. I think Flex Lewis has the best physique in pro bodybuilding right now. I think if they went back and did like they did in Pumping Iron, where they'd have which was the short class and tall class back then, to have the 212 go up against the open, I think Flex blows Heath out of the water and would be the overall Mr. Olympia. That's just my personal opinion on what I see. So I don't think, and so that's not saying that Lee can't hang with Flex. It's that Flex is just so good now. But if there's, that would be a very interesting comparison. Like if you put a Lee Priest up from whatever, I don't know, early 2000s, let's say, like when he finished top 6 in the O, and you put him up and put those pictures side by side with Flex, those would be some really tight races. So it's very hard for Lee now, if he did come back at this age. So if it would be almost like a photo finish there, where you maybe by a nose, one of them would edge the other one out. It will be a really hard stretch to say that a Lee Priest in 2018 could beat a Flex Lewis in 2018. So I'll say no, but I would love to see it happen. Love it.
Yeah, same thing goes for me. You know, the thing with the comebacks is that the sad thing is that nobody can, go back into time. So when Kevin did the comeback, it wasn't the 1992 or 1996 Kevin Levrone. It was the 2016 and 2018 Kevin Levrone,
Yeah.
And that's not because it's just age, time changes. And with Lee Priest too, imagine Lee Priest in his prime with today's supplements too, I'm sure that today they take more than they took in the 90s.
Oh, forget it. And Lee was never a guy that used a lot of steroids.
Yeah.
He's been people would say, oh, you use much more. He would laugh at people and they would say that. He is so genetically gifted that he used bare minimum amounts and was able to, succeed from doing that. So that's why he's still healthy now, because he didn't go crazy and all this toxic stuff in his system from, 20-something years ago.
Yeah, that, and imagine if he wouldn't have that, genetics, he would be small, after all those injuries, but he's still big. It's like almost, it can't affect him, he's in the hospital for weeks, I don't know, can't eat properly, but he still looks huge. And when he doesn't train for a long time, he still looks huge. And it seems like his body, was kind of built for that, his structure and his genetics. His mom was a great bodybuilder too.
Yep, comes in family history. His grandfather.
He started very, very young and trained amazingly hard. That was.
You see him on stage when he was I think it was 14. He has that picture he's showing.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's natural then, but he's 6-pack. I mean, full detail, every muscle in his body you could see. It's impressive. I mean, at 14, I look like a kid. I didn't look like that.
Yeah, I think Lee Priest really was one of the most hardworking guys too in the industry. Speaking of preparing for the show, weight training, he was one of the guys in the off season. He would, go kind of fat too, but not that extreme like people would think of. I think, but great guy. So
he gave his body a rest in the off season.
Yeah,
he didn't go crazy. He enjoyed food. He was able to get it down the weight he needed to get down once he started his prep. And they did a lot of shows back then. Yeah. They didn't just do 1 or 2 shows a year. They did those, like Wayne DeMille used to do those Grand Prix all across Europe right after the Olympia. These guys, a lot of them who participated in one, they just did they ran the gamut of those shows. They were in shape the whole time.
Yeah, it's sad because today, if you want to see Phil Heath competing, you have to go to Las Vegas, to the Mr. Olympia contest. Imagine if you live in, I don't know where, the complete opposite on Earth. You have to go by plane 24 hours to see him. Back then, maybe if you live in Europe like me, I could just go to Munich and see him 1 week after the O or 2 weeks after the O, still in great shape, and all these guys. But I don't know, it changed dramatically, like you said.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, even before that, the O used to be all over the world too.
Yeah.
It was
In
in
Germany too.
Finland, Italy. I mean, it was all over the place. It wasn't just in. It was at the Garden in New York. I mean, it was in America and Elton. Well, obviously Australia, the famous 1980 or the infamous 1980 Olympia with Arnold getting it back after coming back from retirement. So the Olympia used to be a global, literally a global event where it was held. And now it's just in Las. I mean, selfishly, it works better for me as a journalist to go to Las Vegas. I wouldn't be flying to Helsinki, Finland, to see the Olympia. I just wouldn't be able to afford to do that.
Yeah.
But I think it was better, at least for the global fans, to see it all over the place like that when they did that back then.
Yeah, especially if you check, for example, all those Olympic Games and I don't know, soccer championships. They are always in different countries and states.
Sure.
That's normal for that. But the Mr.
Yep.
Olympia is always in Las Vegas for I don't know how many years. I think that's you have to go there. To see the contest. You're like you don't have any options. So a lot of people don't go there, and it's always
No.
the same people probably going there.
Pretty much, yeah.
But what else? Maybe we will see some changement, but I think that it will probably stay in Las Vegas.
Well, now that you got the split with Raphael, it's never going to be overseas again. It's if anything, it'll go to Pittsburgh maybe where Mannion lives if it doesn't stay in Vegas. But it ain't going back to Europe though. That's that's just the scope of the way that everything is nowadays and the federations.
Okay, guys. So I hope you liked that talk. This time
Of course you did.
yeah, I think people will like this one.
Yes.
If you watch this video, please go and subscribe Joe's channel, Muscle Sport TV. Go and subscribe my channel and write your feedback down into the comments too on YouTube because we too read them and we always, try to answer too. I see Joe's comments all the time on YouTube and I try to comment too because then we have interaction and we have that's great fan base, than just doing the videos and not going into the comments and not interacting. So
good or bad, if you don't like it, tell us why. Don't just give it a thumbs down. If you got a thumbs down, there's a reason why you don't like it. I don't care what it is. You're entitled to dislike it. Just say why, and then maybe there's something that we can do on the next show that'll make you turn your opinion, turn that thumbs up. Then.
Yeah, and even topics for the next times you can write it down too because maybe you have something in your mind and nobody talks about it in the industry, but we would be pretty much open to talk about it right now because we don't have any anything that is prohibited or something like that for us.
No, and interesting perspective because you're in Europe and I'm in America, so we can cover large territories. There may be people in Europe that watch your channel that may have a question about something here and vice versa. Maybe somebody here has a question about maybe something about the Fibo that they're not familiar with. What shows like in Germany, other shows are there besides the Fibo and things like that, even if they're amateur or elite pro or whatever. Maybe people have those questions because that's where the shows are going to be for the most part now. So, the elite pro end of things. So as far as professional goes, I know the amateurs, they have been a lot of them across the U.S. now coming up. But there's a lot of questions about what's going on with these federations in Europe, and you might be able to give people those answers since you're over there.
Yeah. So guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. It was the second show of ours, but of course not the last one. I hope you will enjoy it and see you soon next time, guys. Bye.
Take care.